You want me to talk?
Yep.
Is it time? 3, 2, 1. Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Well, hello there. Hello there. Are you there, Addy?
I'm here.
We think we're live?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. Well, welcome to REMarkTO, March 2018. This evening with Addy, Saeed, and Dave Chomitz. Good to see you, Addy.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Excellent, excellent. You had a good time?
Can't complain.
Excellent. That's great.
I could, but nobody listens.
Absolutely. Bingo. That's what it's all about. And it's been an interesting spring season for real estate sales for sure, probably sales in general, the way the economy is and the way the world is right now. An interesting time for everybody. REMarkTO is the biggest meetup group in the Greater Toronto area. I think at this point in time we have a little over 2,300 members.
No, 2,412 as of this morning.
2,412 members in the REMarkTO marketing group. And our purpose is to share ideas about sales and marketing to help people be better at what they do. The whole goal here is to try and share in an absolutely no selling environment concepts and ideas that have been proven to be successful, oftentimes with guest speakers who are experts in the field that they're talking about, and oftentimes with people always with people who use these skills full-time in their everyday life to try and make more money for themselves. They're not trying to make money by sharing ideas at REMarkTO, but they're sharing the things that make them money. And sales is sales. Let's face it, sales is sales is pretty universal. Mm-hmm. There are, if you're selling carpet, or if you're selling appliances, or if you're selling houses, or if you're selling mortgages, you are selling, and there are certain consistent skills that cross the lines from one to another. The product knowledge may be different, but the selling skills are going to be very consistent.
Because it's all about communicating.
It's all about communication. There's no question about it. And this is the 6th in a series of 6.
Yep. Which
is probably going to end up being a series of more than that, because when we started off at 6, we weren't just where it was going to go. And it's been an interesting process, Addy, because what we've found is the further we get in, at least what I'm finding, mm-hmm. the further we get into this, the concept of trying to share the concepts of effective communication, the more and more the narrower and the narrower the scope of the conversation gets, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
We started off with these great big broad, what's your big why, and why do you go to bed in the morning, and all these conversations about these universal topics, right, that help people be motivated, and listening, and the communication is the response that you get, and all those things. And now, getting ready for this particular session, where I thought by now we would have been talking in great paragraphs and reams of words in our conversation. We're actually paring it down to single words.
Yeah.
We're paring this down to single words, right? Which is, when you think about it, it's like I would never have imagined.
Phenomenal.
I would never ever have imagined it going just that way, because what we're talking about tonight are words. And I think, to me, that makes a lot of sense as it's evolved this way, because the art of communication is a lot simpler than people think it is. Mm-hmm. And because it's so simple to do well, it's really simple to really screw up. And we have, as a society, we've really screwed up the way that we use our language, our English language particularly, to try and communicate. Mm-hmm. It's really a sad situation when you think about it. And a big part of that is because we've become in a lot of ways a very surface-oriented society.
Materials, like more materialistic.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And as that's happened, the art of communication for everyday conversation has we've lost in it the ability to recognize that we have two ways of listening. We hear with our conscious mind, we also hear with our subconscious mind. Mm-hmm. And our subconscious mind doesn't always understand things the same way that the conscious mind does. And that's cause for a lot of communication of confusion because of the way we speak. I think a really good example of that is when someone says, I'm going to stop at the store for chocolate bars. Mm-hmm. And when you hear that, you think, well, someone's going to stop at the store, they're going to pick up some chocolate bars, right? But what your subconscious mind is, I'm going to stop at the store and then 4 chocolate bars. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to put together. There are 4 chocolate bars, and I'm going to stop at the store, but they're not necessarily related to each other, or how they go together, right? Yeah. And instead of the speaker saying, I'm going to stop at the store and pick up some chocolate bars, we started to use words that are confusing to the listener's ability to be 100% certain what they're hearing. And as soon as the listener is uncertain about what they're hearing, they start to pause and try to analyze it. And as they analyze it, they start to miss other parts of the conversation. It makes it tough. It makes it really tough.
Yeah.
So to be an effective salesperson, we have to learn how to speak in a more effective way. And one of the ways that we recommend people do that is by learning scripts.
Yep. We went through a couple.
And in doing scripts, we learn that we memorize. And there's 3 steps to learning scripts. The first thing you do is you imitate it. You just take the script exactly as it's been written, and you just memorize it, and you just repeat it. And no one likes doing that. Everybody hates doing that. Because it's always words you don't use, language, the way you don't speak, and it doesn't sound like you, and all that stuff, right? Running, and it's really very critical that you do learn to imitate, to take that script and repeat it. Come on in. Because in memorizing those words exactly as they're written, you start to pick up, and you start to you'll start to develop different speech patterns and language patterns that are the correct way to speak.
Yeah.
And as you practice that and practice that and practice that, you become more comfortable with it, then you start to assimilate it. It starts to become a little more conversational. It starts to sound more natural. It starts to sound like, in whichever script you're working on, if you're a real estate person, you're working on the house to market script, the more often you get a chance to say that, the more natural it will become. It'll start to sound as if you're actually talking and saying it instead of just repeating it from memory or afraid you're going to miss a word. You'll start getting punctuation in the right place, and you'll start making things sound a little bit better. As soon as after a while, if you practice it long enough, and you become comfortable enough with it, and you start doing other scripts and doing those well, that after you imitate and you assimilate, then you got the fun part of starting to innovate. And that's when you start taking different parts of scripts and put them together. And it's really important to be able to do that. But every script is made up of words. And every script has a certain number of words. Now, do you think that's a fuzzy sound?
Yeah, it is.
It is? So what do we need to do about that?
Yeah, we'll fix that.
All right. So I'll just keep talking?
Yep.
Okay, so a minor technical issue there. We'll work through that. It's always fun. Where are we now?
Fuzzy. Everything is fuzzy.
Everything's fuzzy?
Yep. Like when you don't memorize the script properly. We're talking about internalize versus talking about scripts and memorizing them.
No, I understand that. Should we just continue? Is the fuzziness gone?
Yep. The fuzziness should be gone now.
The fuzziness should be gone now. Okay, so first you imitate, then you assimilate, and then you innovate with scripts. And every script has a series of words. Some of the words are more important than the others. And so tonight what we'd like to do is... Yes, Addy?
What slide are you on?
I'm on the first slide. Power words, right there.
Yeah, okay.
All right. The first... So tonight we're going to talk about power words, which are the words that are in a script that are very powerful. And you don't need to use them every day, or like in the script, you can use them every day in your language. But there are definitely words that can make a difference. And the first part of this is going to be communication as a practical skill, because there's 2 parts of communication. One is you have to listen. You have to listen to what's being said. So when someone's talking to you, it's really important that you're listening to what they're saying, but you also have to listen to what's coming back at you, because there's 2 parts of the conversation. One is, and we talked about this about a couple months ago, about how so much of the conversation is asking questions, trying to draw from the person you're talking to the information that you want to get. So as someone's talking to you, you have to listen to what they're saying, for sure. That's an absolute must. But you also have to listen to how they're answering your questions. So there's the content of what they're saying, but there's also the context they're saying it in. And that's really important. The second part of communication is the talking part. You have to craft your message so that they hear it in such a way that as they answer you, it comes back in a way that you understand, and you can move the conversation in the area that you want to move it in. Because the whole reason to learn how to communicate effectively is to be a better salesperson. And oftentimes, the people that we meet every day, they're looking to us for advice and to counsel, and to a certain degree to help them filter out all the things that they're worried about, or they're concerned about, or that they're anxious about, that they don't need to be. Because we do what we do every day, whatever it might be. If it's real estate sales, or if it's mortgage sales, or if it's furniture sales, we help people make decisions every day, the same decisions over and over again. And it's really important that as we always recognize that the people that we meet every day, they only do it once or twice. They're looking to us for help. So sometimes we have to take our conversation and move it in a direction that we know is better for them. Do you agree with that, Addy?
Yep, absolutely. It has to be a two-way street, basically. So it's like Jack Canfield when he talks about conversations that you're having, and how every event that you have and the response that you give to it creates the outcome that you're looking for. So the E plus R equals O. It's prevalent in every single literature that we see there. It's storytelling, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've talked about scripts. So the first power word we like to talk about is because, and there's a reason for that. And because is a word that we use all the time. And these are going to be words that we use every day in our conversation. And it's important, we're going to break them down and understand what they do. Because is a cause and effect word. That means that it's a word that supports something else, a cause and effect word. So you might say, it rained last night, I'm going golfing in the morning, it's raining last night, the golf game's going to be different, it's going to be slower. So the rain caused the golf game to be different. Or I'm driving in traffic and the traffic's really slow because there's an accident. The accident caused the traffic to be slower. It's a cause and effect word. It's also a logic-based word. And that means, like when we were kids, we were told, like, don't touch the stove because it's hot, right? Mm-hmm. Don't run in the traffic because you might get hit. Yeah. Right? So it's a logic-based word. So when someone hears the word because, they know that because is a cause-effect word, and it's also based in logic. And because of that, I just used it, yep. Because of that, whatever comes after the word because is multiplied in strength. People listen to it more clearly. Don't touch the stove because it's hot and you'll hurt yourself. People remember that. Don't play in the traffic because you might get hit by a car. In fact, they did a study about the word because in the 1980s, I think it was. A university did a study, and they wanted to take photocopies. You've heard of this, Addy? Yep. They wanted to take photocopies, and they sent someone into a photocopy room in the university, and the person just stood, like there was a line up to make photocopies, and someone said, would you mind if I cut in line to make copies because? Because? They said, do you mind if I stop?
No, but I think that was the third time, because they wanted to see what the power of the
absolutely, yes, that's right. So the first I said, do you mind if I cut in line? Yeah. Do you mind if I cut in line? That's all they asked for. Yeah. Do you mind if I cut in line ahead of you to make my photocopies? And they found that 60% of the time, people allowed that to happen. Just because people were nice. They said 60% of the time, people would just say, sure, get in line, right? Yep. The next time they came in, they said, do you mind if I cut in line because?
Because I have to make a photocopy.
No, that was the last one. No, the middle one was just because. They said, do you mind if I cut in line because? And 93% of the time, people said, sure.
That's crazy.
No, the last time they came in, they said, do you mind if I cut in line because I need to make photocopies? And 94% of the time, people replied. So the word, what comes after because doesn't even have to make a lot of sense. Just using the word because had a significant increase in compliance with people who were in line. Isn't that fascinating? So you can use the word because to build, like whatever comes after it is 3 times stronger because people have been trained to think that way. It's a cause-effect word, and it's a logic-oriented word. Our subconscious mind automatically says whatever's coming next must be important, right? Traffic is slow because there was an accident. Don't touch the stove because it's hot, right? This is a great house for you because it has 3 bedrooms, the number you're looking for, right? Or this is a great house for you because it's in the right school district. People will give a lot of strength to the right number of bedrooms. It's in the right school district. This is a very powerful way to phrase your language, right? Instead of saying, this house has 3 bedrooms, so it's probably pretty good, it's just what you want. You know, if you take the time to be aware and consciously think about what you're saying, structure your language in such a way. this house is a great home for you because it has 3 bedrooms, or this could be a great house for you because it has 3 bedrooms.
Yep.
Right? Because your kids will be happy learning to ride a bike on the quiet street.
That's true.
Sure.
Anytime you can give a reason, and it doesn't even, frankly, it doesn't even have to make a lot of sense. The way we're programmed, it doesn't even have to make a lot of sense at times because. Just because.
Exactly. just because. And I use this a lot. I use because a lot. Because, and there's another word that's one of my favorites. And you can see where people, you can use the word because to frame the sentence in a way that they hadn't even been thinking about. Because there's the opportunity to do that. You can say, if you go into a living room, you can say this will be a great room on Christmas morning because there's a lovely fireplace that you can sit around. And everyone's even thinking about Christmas when you walk in the room, right? You can bring a lot of emotion into the process and help people see themselves at a place and a time they're going to be a lot happier about by using the word because and clicking on one little part about that particular offering with a house, whatever it is that you know they're going to key into.
See, what I like about that example that you just gave is that you're actually you're creating an association in their mind about purchasing the house and usually everybody's happy at Christmas. So we're based on that, we can say that, if you're happy at Christmas, if you create that association, that's a powerful association to have as a real estate, as a salesperson in any position.
Absolutely. Now think about another one. If like summertime's coming, there's a house with a beautiful pool.
Yep.
You say, boy, you'll always know where your kids are because they're going to be hanging around the pool. They're going to have a ball. They're not going to be out in the street getting in trouble. There's all kinds of ways you can do that. Take any aspect of the house and use because, and then plug in something that's good for them, and they will hear it louder and stronger.
Yep.
They're not going to buy the house just because you said that, but it'll help them find them move that one step closer to moving in the right direction, right? And so because is a really, really powerful word. So we should start using because now, and now's the next word. And now is a really powerful word because it creates a sense of urgency. Sign the papers now. List your home now.
But isn't that what sales is, creating the sense of urgency? Otherwise, your prospect could be saying, hey, I'll think about it and I'll get back to you, or let me sleep over it.
Well, especially in the market we're in now.
Exactly.
Now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The way the market is right now, you need to make decisions now.
You do. And that's not being pushy, that's being realistic, right?
Yep.
And oftentimes, again, people only buy a house once or twice, 3 times in a lifetime. They buy them in different economies and for different reasons. They don't necessarily appreciate the situation of the marketplace as it exists today.
Yep.
And it's our job as salespeople and as professionals to help them understand that if there is a sense of urgency that because of what's happening with the inventory shortages, with the low interest rates, and with the changes that people are making, it's absolutely critical that people understand that that if it's important that they move right away, that they do that. And the word now can create that sense of urgency, and that's a really great way to help people move forward.
You need to sign this, or you need to buy this home now because the market is going up. Or you need to act on this now because we don't know how the market is going to be tomorrow. We don't know if the market is going to be, it's going to get, we don't know if they're going to get another offer or the market is picking up.
Absolutely.
So all the more reason that you can provide, it actually will help them make that decision. And it has to be a decision. Now, there's something that we should point out, that we're talking about these things not in a manipulative way. That's not the intention. This is not to manipulate your audience or person that you're dealing with. This is actually you truly believing that this property is a really good fit for them. For example, I sell real estate, so this is the example that I'm using. I would never use an example like this or a tactic like this on somebody that is not fit for a property. If they're looking for a 2-bedroom house and you're showing them a 4-bedroom house and you try to use tactics like this, you might be able to get that sale, but you've lost the customer for life.
Oh, totally, Addy.
So it's something important that we have to keep in mind over here. So the intention over here is to make sure that when your customers are looking for something and they have that, and you have the solution for them, that they act on it.
Totally, And oftentimes they don't know.
Yeah.
They just don't realize. And particularly in a market like this, there's always, because it's such a big decision, it's only natural for people to hesitate, right? And because there's very little inventory, and because of the time of the season, hesitation could mean they don't get the house they need.
I can give you a live example from this month. Actually, this is March. Yeah. So a client of ours, her house, we listed it and sold it, and it's closing first week of April. And we took her out and we showed her a bunch of properties, and there's one property that she really, really likes. But then she asked our buyer agent to show her properties in a completely different city. So we were having our weekly meeting, and my agent brought this up, and I'm like, but why are we showing a property where she can't buy? Well, she wants to see that. Well, that's great. But is there a property that she likes right now? Yes, she likes 3 properties. Okay, and why isn't she purchasing one of them? Well, because she wants to see what's in Oshawa, for example. She wants to see what's in Oshawa. Well, she can't move to Oshawa because that's too far away from her work. So we have to now become consultants for our clients and advise them that, the best decision for you is to buy property in the town that we have shown you, or wherever it is. Okay. So it was a very, very good exercise for our agent to understand that, we believe that it is the right decision. It's closer to her work. It's closer to her grandchildren. It's a nice property. We still have our conditions and the conditions of inspection and financing. Also, we don't have enough time left, and the property actually matches because now it is currently sitting vacant, so she can move in by the end of the month. So all of those things are matching up, but our client wasn't sure. So we went through, helped her make the decision, and then alleviated or went through all of the concerns that she had and addressed all of them. And that's what I think is the benefit of having these tools available.
Totally. And then you could, although a lot of her concerns could be strung together in a whole bunch of sentences that required that use the word because and now, right? Yes. So it's absolutely.
It's beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful. And so just imagine using that kind of language in that kind of way to help people, right? And imagine is our next word. And imagine is my favorite word. I use it all the time. Imagine is my absolute favorite word. And the reason for that is when you say imagine, your subconscious mind has absolutely no resistance to it at all. We all love to imagine. We've all been children. We've all played games. We've all been cowboys and Indians or princesses or spacemen or superheroes. We've all imagined. We've all imagined yelling at that guy that cut us off on parking on, right? We're imagining every day, aren't we? But when you imagine, you have to go to whatever the environment, whatever the question is, and you have to be there to imagine it, right? So if you say to someone, imagine your right toe, right? Imagine your right toe right now. Well, you weren't thinking about your right toe until I said it.
Yep.
But now it's right there. It's in your head. It's in your consciousness. And if you said to someone, imagine sitting around this pool in July. Well, they can't comment, or as soon as you say that, they have to see themselves around that pool. There's no getting around it. They have to do it, right? Imagine sitting by the fireplace.
Oh, you can also use to drive the point home. You can use it the other way around. Don't imagine a pink elephant. So when you say somebody don't do this, all of a sudden it still pops in their head, a pink elephant.
Absolutely. So when we talk about imagine, it makes people go to that place, see themselves there, and if you structure the conversation in the way that it's a pleasant vision, as opposed to imagine how busy the traffic's going to be on the street. You don't do that. Imagine how wonderful it could be or how quiet it'll be on the street. Imagine imagine getting up in the morning and coming down and having a coffee on that patio, on a Saturday morning after a busy week. They have to see themselves do it, and oftentimes that can make people more comfortable about a home that they're uncomfortable about. Right? Help them see themselves moving into it. A big part of the selling process is always helping people see themselves there, and the word imagine brings people to it, makes them do that. Another way to phrase that is picture this. You know, you may be thinking, just bring like words or phrases that pull people in, just pull people in. It's really a powerful, powerful, powerful way to speak to people. I think that imagine is so effective because everyone has done it before. But if you start using it now, it'll be a lot more effective than you can think. And when you say it, watch people's faces, because you'll see a change in their face. If you catch them with the right emotion, you'll actually see their face change. You'll see them start to smile, which is really magical when it happens. But it does. I've hundreds of times I've seen that happen. You know, whatever they might be doing. You know, imagine, and it's always something about fun, right? Imagine Christmas morning. Imagine looking out across that yard right after a new snowfall. It's just imagine how pretty that would be, right? And you'll see people, they'll just start to, their eyes will start to twinkle. It's really cool. It's really cool. And as a salesperson, that's a tremendous service to give them, because they may be focused on, oh, the kitchen floor is really dirty, or the bathroom needs updating, or they're going to be, it's only natural as a human being to look at all the negative parts about the house, right, or about whatever it is you're looking at. So help them get past that, because or maybe the kitchen's orange and they hate the orange. You know, I can't imagine that, but it's got a big island. You can say, imagine making Christmas cookies with your kids around this island. That'd be so much fun. You know, and maybe get them away from the color and help them see themselves there, because color can change so easily, right? Those memories are things that can be so important and valuable to them, and that's a great way to bring people into that space, right?
Absolutely. I can't imagine how else you would actually talk to a prospect. Like especially if somebody's buying a house, they have to imagine themselves living there. That's the only reason they're going to buy. See, agents don't sell houses. The houses sell themselves. We just have to show them the value that they're going to get from buying the particular home. Or we're going to help them avoid buying a lemon, basically. So those are the two main functions that we serve.
Absolutely, absolutely, and those being able to do that, and we've only had, I think we're only on our third word, right?
Yeah, got a lot more to go.
but even that, just being able to use because, right? Like, let's try and think of a way to string these three words together. Like, imagine how much fun it would be for your family to have your family and friends over, like, for a barbecue with a pool, because the kids could all be playing in the pool and the parents could be having a nice drink on the barbecue, and you could be doing that now. If we move forward. Right?
You could be doing that right now if you move forward.
Imagine that, right?
Create the urgency, give them a reason, and also let them think themselves in that situation.
And if you were to turn that around the other way, you might say, well, it's a great house and it's got a big yard with a pool, and you know, you can cover that same ground in so many ways that were ineffective. So with a little conscious effort, it's possible to frame it in such a way that can be very powerful. Next power words are please and thank you. They seem so obvious. But it really is a powerful, powerful way to bring someone to your side or to get someone to comply. Saying things like, would you please, Addy, help me here.
Yes, please.
Would you please?
Help you out?
Yeah, just fill in the blank.
Sure. Would you please pass me the water bottle?
All right, sure.
Or would you please, I'm lost.
Okay, no, that's okay. So, like, let's say, for instance, you're working with someone, and a big part of the real estate process is paperwork. A lot of paperwork. And oftentimes, when people are signing their papers, it could conceivably take an hour and a half to do what could be done in 20 minutes. And I find it's awfully easy. It's awfully good to have, like, I have a lot of pleasant conversation, but I try to keep things on track, because my job is to help people do what they need to do, but I don't need to spend 3 hours doing something I get done in 20 minutes, right? I just don't do that. My time is the most valuable commodity that I have. So if I've spoken to someone and we've gone over the whole contract and we've gone over every clause and they're all comfortable with it, we've analyzed it from frontwards and backwards, and they know what they want to do, then I can say to them, would you please sign here? What you need to do now is just, would you please sign, you know, or you know, please, would you sign for me here? And as soon as you say that, they'll say, oh, sure, I will, and they'll just go and they'll just do it, you know, and it saves so much time. Now, one thing I want to point out over here, this is something that that anybody that has done any scripts would understand. Scripts actually, basically, like, there's different teachers out there, different types of scripts. Yep, different standard.
Yeah. So everybody has a different style. So somebody that is somebody that is more direct, I don't want to use names right now, somebody that is more direct, like they're pushing cold calling, for example, they will not use the word please. They would say, let's move forward, sign here.
That's right.
Versus somebody that is, again, it depends on the personality type. Somebody that is more referral based, they would say please and thank you. So their whole business is structured around cooperation with each other, versus one that is driven by just hard selling.
Absolutely, absolutely, and so I guess everyone's going to have to make their own decision about that. I've always been, or at least I've never been a hard seller. It's always been more relationship based. My business is completely relationship based. And again, as I say, when I go over an 8 or 9 page offer contract, we go over every clause. There isn't a pen any place. We go over every clause until the client's comfortable. But once they're comfortable, then it's time to move forward.
Yep.
Or if they're comfortable saying no, I don't want to do that, then we won't do that. That's cool too. But there's one of the challenges that a lot of salespeople have when it comes time to sign the paper, they feel pushy in the close. Even though they know it's what the client wants to do, the client's ready to do it, it's still something that they're very hesitant to move forward with. And using the word please in those instances can soften it and make it a lot more easier to move forward. Anything else for that one, Addy?
No, I'm good.
All right, well, the next one is this is my least favorite one. This is one I'm not good at all. It's a person's name. If there's anything that I'm lousy at, it's remembering people's names, but if you can remember the person's name and you use it during the conversation, it multiplies their rapport with you, as long as you don't overdo it. If you use the name 2 times during the conversation, studies have shown, people start to like you better. People start to feel more comfortable with you. People start to build a stronger relationship with you. If you use it 3 or 4 or 5 times in a short conversation, it's too much. But if you can use it 2 or 3 times, or 2 times, once or twice, people really find that that's a good thing. And you use it like you say, well, hi, Bob, or like you say your hellos, but then partway through the sentence you say, well, Bob, or Addy, it's really important for people to do that. You can't do it every time, Addy, because after a while it starts to be like, people will say, well, geez, why is he always calling me by my name, But it's once in a while, a couple times, it can really be a strengthener and a great rapport builder.
Yeah. Dave, you're absolutely right about this.
Well, thank you so much, Addy. That's very kind of you to say so. But here's one that we've, this is a great one here. The don't. We already talked about that a little bit.
Yep.
As a way of, it's a form of negation. And Addy used the example of don't think about a pink elephant earlier, right?
Yep.
And you can't not think of a pink elephant when someone says that. So you can, but you don't associate thinking about a pink elephant with Addy. So it's a great way to influence people, to help people have a thought that you think is important for them to consider without them thinking that you told them they should think about it.
Yeah, right? Absolutely, yeah.
And it's a little bit hard to, I guess it's a little bit hard to explain, but I wrote it this way: your mind does not comprehend negatives. So when you ask your mind to not do something, the focus still has to be on that part which you don't want to do, right? You can't not think about a pink elephant without seeing a pink elephant. You can't not think about jumping in a cold pot-like pool of water without really thinking what it would be like to jump in a cold pool of water. So by using the word don't strategically, you can really help move things in the right direction. You can create an automatic positive response. Negation is telling people, and I spoke about this before, I think we've talked about this before, the negation is when you tell people what you're not going to tell them. And you say, well, I'm not going to tell you this, but then you tell them, right? And then as soon as you tell them, they think about it.
Yeah.
And they don't think that you told them about it because you told them you weren't going to tell them about it, right?
Yeah. But is also a good word for this too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But is another power word. I don't know. Are we talking about but as well?
We are. We're talking about but as well. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's and so don't is a fantastic word for creating a positive image. You can also create a very negative image with don't, so you have to be very, very careful. You have to be very careful of the language you use to send that out, right? To send out the message, but it's really, really important. So imagine watching people's faces as they visualize the outcome you told them not to even think about. But they can't help it. right? The next word is but.
Oh, it is?
It is but.
Look at that.
Yeah, and but's a fun word, but you've got to be really careful when you use but. Because when you use the word but, you have to have your listening skills on in order to capture and take full advantage of the word. Your clients will use but a lot. They use it negatively. They'll say things like, if you're selling houses, they'll say things like, well, I really like the house, but the garage is too small, or but the yard's too small. I think that my kids are like playing on the street, but there's no children here. They'll use but in a negative way. And it's important to remember that that after the word but, or as soon as you include the word but, the first part of the sentence is forgotten. People don't remember it. So, I really like this house, but the kitchen's too small. What they'll remember in their head, if they say it that way, is
the kitchen's too small.
The kitchen's too small.
They won't remember anything else.
They won't forget that they love the house. That's right. Yeah, they won't. Or if they say, I really want to buy a home, but I'm afraid I have bad credit.
Yep.
They're focusing on the bad credit part of that sentence. They're not going to think about wanting to buy a home. So when you're working with the word but, you've really got to listen. When someone says that, there's a tremendous opportunity for you to reframe the conversation so that they feel a little bit better about it, right? So that's the magic of but. I love this house, but the yard's too small. I want to buy a home, but I'm afraid that I've got bad credit. They just remember the end of it. That's the magic of the word. Remember that, because right now they're using it negatively.
Yep.
We'll be using it positively. And the but works the same way. So there's also the but flip.
Oh.
Right?
Yep, that's right.
That's right. That's
I was
right.
waiting for that.
I know you were. It's his favorite part. So the but flip. So when someone says, I love this house, but the yard's too small, right? We could have the opportunity to respond. What I hear you saying is, the yard is small, but you love the house.
So it's the same thing, but they're actually going to remember more that they love the house.
They won't remember the part, but I hear you saying the yard's small.
Yeah.
They'll remember you love this house, right? Or I want to buy a home, but I'm afraid I have bad credit. Your response is, what I hear you saying is, you're afraid you may have bad credit, but you'd really like to buy a house. So once again, they remember you'd really like to buy a house. I really want to buy a house, right? You diminish the power of the bad credit fear, or you diminish the power of the yard being small, and you focus on the part about that they love the house or they want to buy credit, right? I hope that makes sense. Now, in this particular example, too, we softened it. If you notice in the first sentence, he says, I'd love to buy this house, but the yard's too small. The yard's too small, right? Remove the qualifier and say, in your answer, you say, I understand, I hear you saying the yard is small. Don't add the two, right? Just add the small. The next one was, I want to buy a home, but I'm afraid I have bad credit. Your response is, what I hear you saying is, you're afraid you may have bad credit. Right, so you can use that sentence to introduce just a little bit of a softener as well. Even though they shouldn't remember that part of it, you can soften the message anyhow, so it's easier for them to forget. Right?
That's very important, actually. So, and it's very intriguing because I didn't pick up on this when we were initially talking about this presentation. I did not catch that at all.
What's that?
This little you took the word "to" out. And then you said you may have bad credit. I did not even pick up on it.
And that's the thing. So you shouldn't pick up on it.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
So I'm just blown away right now because I'm looking at this going, hey, how come? Like I read this presentation before. How come I didn't pick up on this? This is completely it went completely under my radar.
And that's exactly what these things will do. And that's why it's so important as a professional salesperson to learn these skills, because someone, like the yard being too small, I've sold hundreds of homes to people who thought the yard was too small. It's not a reason not to buy a house that works for you. You know, if everything else about the house is right, but the yard's small, it'd be a shame to let someone walk away from that house. We wouldn't be doing a very good job at all as a professional salesperson to let someone not buy that house, right? To let them talk themselves out of that house. Yeah. Right?
Especially when we can't use the yard a lot.
Well, okay, so sure, okay, sure. Or if they were afraid, if someone's fear of having bad credit. And I can tell you, there was a time in my life when this paralyzed me. I was afraid I had bad credit, so you wouldn't make a decision, right? It's our job as salespeople to say, well, wait a minute. If you really want to buy a home and you have bad credit, that's a problem, maybe, but we can fix it, right?
Everything can be fixed.
Everything can be fixed. So it's important as salespeople to do our job well and help the people that come to us for help. We have to be able to help them understand that they may be building hurdles where their hurdles shouldn't exist.
Exactly.
And in this particular case, I love the house, but the yard's too small. What I hear you saying is the yard is small, but you love the house. If at the end of the day it's not the right house, they're not going to buy it anyway.
Yep.
But they should not buy it because they're of the yard.
I love the double negative.
You know what I mean? Okay, good. But that's really important as salespeople to remember that and to listen to that, because you can't make that statement effectively unless you actually listen to what they're saying. You have to play their words back to them. That builds credibility to you. It lets them understand that you're actually listening to them, right? Builds rapport, strengthens your position. If you soften it a little bit, that's good too. Use the but in the right place and then put the positive tail on the end of it, and you've structured yourself a very powerful sentence, extremely powerful sentence, but you've used their words to do it. So you have to listen. You can't do this when you're starting to imitate scripts. Yep. Because when you're just imitating the script, you're too busy thinking about what you want to say to hear what they're saying back to you, right? That's why it's so critical to practice your scripts until they become conversational, because when you can say it and then you can listen to their reply. And you might say to them, imagine imagine being in the backyard in the summertime around this pool. And they might say, yeah, the pool's really nice, but the yard's really small around it. You say, well, I hear you saying that you think the yard may be a little bit small around the pool, but wouldn't it be fun to have you out here anyway with the family? Yeah. And you got to internalize it to the point where it becomes conversational, and it's no different than an auto mechanic knowing what part to fix in a car, or a doctor knowing what part to fix in a body. It's the same thing. You've got to understand. You've got to build it into the point where it makes sense to you and it comes out naturally. The next word is and.
Oh, I love this word.
All right, then you take this word, Addy.
No, you go ahead. You're doing such a marvelous job at it.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for that. So, and is a word that ties things together. And is actually the opposite of but. When you use the word and, the ideas continue to flow. The sentence continues to flow, and it's all retained and remembered. With but, you might say, when they say, well, I really like the yard or the house, but the yard's too small, they forget about liking the house. If they said, I really like the house and the yard's too small, they remember both parts of it. And that's the nice. That and is a way to tie things in and build your sentences a little bit stronger. With practice, I better move this forward. Sorry. You can use and to build an argument and carry it through. The market's really busy, and I have a program for keeping up to date on it, right? So you create a cause, and then you have the solution for it. If you list your house today, we get onto the system right away and take full advantage of the weekend traffic and maximize your exposure right out of the gate. All three of those points will be remembered. If you list your house today, but the weekend's traffic, then they forget part of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not. So you structure them that way. It's really an effective way to speak.
And it's important to know that when you're using but, a lot of times it's being used as a negative, whereas and is being used as a positive, like as an additive. So they're basically saying, hey, if we put the property on the market this week, we can take advantage of the weekend traffic, and we can do an open house over there, and we can make sure our flyers are going out. Versus when you're using a but, you have to be very careful to make sure that, I can appreciate that you're concerned about the backyard being too small, but isn't it a lovely house? Sure.
So the but would be used when you're trying to remove some kind of a negative or resistant concept or mind thought, right?
Yeah.
And the and is used when you're tying positive things together.
Yeah.
You want to remember everything. Okay. So if it's a concept or a thought that you don't want your client to have, you put a but. You rephrase it in such a way that you can use a but and then tie on a positive thought at the end of it. If the client says, boy, it's really busy right now, I say, yeah, it is really busy. And if we list right now, you can play their words back to them again, but put an and on it.
Yep.
And keep tying it together to reinforce their thought, right? Simple words.
Yep.
Very, very simple words.
You should try using and but together.
Well, actually, that's next.
Oh, you're a mind reader.
No. And but together. This is where it gets to be fun. I'd love to have my own home, but I'm afraid I have bad credit. Right. A great response. What I hear you saying is you're afraid you may have bad credit, but you'd love to have your own home. Why don't we get together and see where your credit is and develop a plan to make that dream come true?
That's amazing. It's so progressive.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And all of a sudden, if somebody, it's almost like you're actually giving an image in your head of all the steps that they have to take next.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's something that takes a lot of practice.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the kind of skill that takes a negative thought and in a matter of a couple of sentences turns it into a possible positive outcome.
Yep.
And you might, at the end of it, you might say, would that be useful to you? Or would you like to do that? Or can you see yourself doing that, right? Or okay, sure, let's do that. What I hear you saying is you're afraid you may have bad credit, but you'd love to own your own home. Why don't we get together and see where your credit is and develop a plan to make that dream come true? Imagine maybe a year from now, you could be moving into your own house.
Amazing. Now you're actually bringing their imagination into the game too.
Yeah.
And it's very important that I keep on pointing out that this is not being manipulative. This is actually showing them the path towards home ownership because that's obviously what the person is looking for. They'd love to buy a home, but they're afraid to have bad credit. Well, these are solutions that you're offering to them to confirm that if they have bad credit. If they have bad credit, it's not like it can't be fixed. Putting something in place so it can be taken care of, but driving them towards a predetermined outcome, and which means basically it's another meeting, and there's more work for you to do now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And at the end of the day, if you do it well and you do it right, you should be able to help someone who really wants a home but doesn't think they can have one understand it's possible, and work with them through that step. And then if you're a relationship-based salesperson, then if you do that with one person, I'll guarantee you that if it takes a year for that person to buy a house, that person will introduce you to 4 or 5 other people that want to buy houses.
Absolutely.
Because they believe that you are in a position to help them.
But that's what you're aiming for anyway,
That's all you want.
Yeah,
that's all you want.
That's all you want. Now you're driving them towards that predetermined outcome that you're hoping for.
Yeah, that everyone's hoping for.
Yeah, and it's something that they're looking for too.
Bingo.
They just don't know yet.
Win-win. Nobody loses in this.
They just don't know yet that they can actually do it.
Well, it's a fear, right? It's a fear that people have, and it's not the least bit unusual. So you can use but to eliminate or soften and make forgotten the negative thought, and you use and to build on top of that. People remember all the positive things you stuck to it, and as you said, like in this particular sentence, there's a sequence, and you can put an imagine on the end of it, and a now, and boom, you're talking with it's a whole new paragraph.
You're making scripts right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. Well, actually, Addy, you saw that what it means. That all means that we're making a script now.
Yes.
Right? It means is the next word, and means works a lot like because. Means is a cause and effect pattern that'll build strength into your idea as you communicate. Now, it doesn't have to be completely plausible. It doesn't have to make total sense, because people tend not to look at it, which means that the only way for someone to notice is if they go out of their way to pull apart whatever it is that you've said. But the complete idea is retained by the listener, and you can build upon that. You can say this house has a double car driveway, it's got a double car driveway, which means you'll be able to get both your cars off the street at night.
Yeah.
It's got a kitchen that's big enough for a table, like for your family to eat at, which means you'll be able to have family dinners together.
Right. You have more than enough entertaining space, which means that you're going to be able to invite all your friends over. It has a man cave, so it means that you can have some time away from your wife.
You watch some football. That's right. Absolutely. Which means, right? So you can take some aspect of the property, or some aspect of their lifestyle, or some aspect, and you just say, this is that, which means you can do this, right? So it's a cause and effect. This is this, which means this happens next, right?
Yeah.
And it's a logic based, and people take that with a lot of power, a lot of strength.
I think we have a couple of examples of this too over the next slide, don't we?
I don't know, do we? I don't. Oh, working with me as your exclusive buyer's agent now means you'll be aware of suitable properties as soon as they come on the market.
Yep.
As I'm watching the new listings every day, I'm watching the new listings every day, which means you won't miss a thing because I'm your buyer's agent, right? So again, if you say that with the right syntax to it, I'm watching the new listings every day. That's a statement, which means you won't miss a thing. Right?
Because I'm your buyer's agent.
Because I am your buyer's agent, right? So,
yep.
so there's some good embedded commands in there as well. That is a statement that no one can argue with.
Yep.
It has to be true. So that's all the power words we have for tonight. And I think it's actually, it's only 6 or 7 words.
Yeah.
But there's an awful lot to it. And that's the thing, Addy, I think that's so significant about the process that we're going through here, is that it's 6 or 7 words used effectively can change the outcome of every conversation. But it's only 6 or 7 words. Like, it's only a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a whole long script or a whole long, 12-page presentation. It's just 6 or 7 words used in your everyday conversation effectively.
Yep.
Can make all the difference in the world to the way it turns out, right?
I think we should call it quits over here. We've been at it for an hour now.
Has it been an hour?
Yeah. So what we should do is, I think we're going to have to come back and we're going to have to do another one. So we have some more words over here too. So next month we can continue on this conversation.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, and then we can finish the presentation because there's a lot more to do over here. We keep on, like, it's amazing as you started in the beginning. You're talking about it, that we started with huge sentences to scripts and full paragraphs, and now we're down to words.
Down to one word.
Yeah, one word, and it's actually taking the conversation from one angle to a completely different angle, and how you're driving a conversation. I'm blown away. I'm blown away with this journey that we've been on.
It's a hoot, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a hoot, and the thing that I really like about it is I've been doing this for 26 years now, and it's some of these things become natural to you, and some of these things you learn them, and then they become familiar, and then you ignore them.
Yeah.
You just ignore them, and you slip right back into the comfort zone of speaking the way everybody else speaks, right? And it's so important that to be an effective communicator, that you develop the skills to listen to other people speak, but then when you talk back to them, you feed their words back to them a little bit. You structure your conversation so that they understand exactly what you're trying to say, whether it's to shine a light on a certain part of a product that's going to be give them a benefit that they haven't seen yet, or whether it could even be something to say, well, you know what, this is a great house, but the tracks are right there, and it's going to be awful noisy. Whatever it might be, it's important that I know you love the kitchen, but the subway's right, bro. It shakes every 15 minutes, whatever.
Well, it's a good thing in Toronto if you're right by the subway.
But it's one of those things where learning, being focused enough to learn how to communicate properly can really change your life, but more importantly, change the life of the people that you're working with.
Yeah. No, this has been really, really an eye-opener for me. And as I said, like, this journey has been pretty intense, like going through all the different aspects of communication. So I'm really looking forward to next month. Hopefully our listeners and viewers are going to be coming back to us again. We're going to be posting this video up, and we'll be back next month again. We'll talk a little bit more about some more power words. Now we're talking about softeners, and what are the categories we're looking at next week?
Well, next month,
sorry.
Next month we've got some softeners on, like conversation softeners started up. I think it would be wise to see how this, we always let this percolate for a day or two, right? But I think that this has been a real neat exercise with these words, and I think there are still a couple more words out there that I think we should bring up as well. And it wouldn't even hurt to review some of these, I think, to be honest with you, because these are so simple, and it's like we've been talking about it for an hour. They're so simple and so easy to use that it's almost, I'm sure that no one listening has got them all written down. So we should review some of this stuff as well.
Absolutely. We'll do it next time.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Addy, are we off then?
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers.